In this video, we're gonna test image generation using NanoBanana Pro, Flux2Pro, Seedream 4.5, not 5 yet, and ChatGPT 1.5. We're gonna test them all with the same prompts to see what kind of results each one delivers. I'll try to read out all the prompts, but since some of them are gonna be really long, I'll probably just make a separate page on my website. I'll leave the link in the description, so if you need to, you can go there to read or copy them. I'm gonna test what I'm most curious about, which is product photography, but we're also gonna generate some people too, because I'm really interested to see if some AI still mess up and give them 6 or 7 fingers. I'm not gonna give any spoilers though, you'll see for yourself soon enough. So let's start with the simple one. Floating black headphones, studio shot, minimalism, dark atmosphere, black background, 3/4 view, a colored red-blue light spot in the background behind the headphones. Advertising photography, 100mm lens. When I started, I obviously had a guess who's gonna win. I thought Nano Banana would be the best in every test, but nope, it didn't do so great in the very first one. I tried a few different versions and they all had the same issue. The blacks aren't actually black, even though I specifically asked for it. There's a lot of noise and some weird posterization in the background, so overall I can't say the image quality is that great. That said, the prompt adherence is good, the headphones are angled exactly how I asked, and the lighting is where it needs to be. In that sense, everything's fine. With GPT, the prompt adherence is also looking good. As you can see, it added a bit of creative touch with some colored highlights on the headphones themselves, I mean. And I actually like how it looks. By the way, since GPT has fewer resolution options available, you'll notice the aspect ratio here is a little bit different. There isn't that annoying noise like we saw in the Nano Banana image, but there are some large spots in the background. It actually looks a bit like those old school 80s portrait backdrops. People loved using those for photos, and they look pretty much the same when they're blurred out. I can't say I'm a huge fan of it, but it definitely looks better than what we got from Nano Banana. Flux actually surprised me in a good way. It's a totally different look here. The headphones are completely in focus, almost like they were shot using focus stacking, you know, where you take several shots at different focus points and stitch them together so the whole object is sharp. That's super common thing in product photography. My overall impression of this image is way better, the detail is great, and the texture of the leather and the fabric inside the ear cup looks very good. I don't really see anything to nitpick here, it's awesome. And by the way, there's no extra noise or artifacts, at least none that I can see at first glance. Great. Seedream also did a great job, it interpreted the prompt correctly and the image quality is solid. The only thing I'm not a fan of here is that it shifted the spots a little bit, but I think if I ran a few more generations, I could get exactly what I'm looking for. Overall, it's pretty good, but if we're looking at all 4 options, Flux is definitely the winner for me in this round. Great job, Flux. Next prompt, camera on a black reflective surface, shot at a 3/4 angle, studio advertising photography, 100mm lens. I decided to try this prompt just to confirm that AI still isn't capable of making these kinds of images. I'm talking about objects with ton of small but very important details, like labels, switches, knobs. It's just turned into garbage and immediately give away that it's AI. I think for images like this, it's much easier to just use stock photos. You can even find free ones online instead of trying to generate them, so I'm not even gonna spend much time on this. They all did a bad job. So, the next prompt. A facial skincare set consisting of 3 items, a cream jar, a foam cleanser bottle, and a glass serum bottle. All items are without labels, placed on a marble countertop in a brightly lit room with natural daylight. A ficus branch in the background, advertising photography. This is where Nano Banana Pro totally redeemed itself. I might not be a huge fan of how that window on the left looks, just from an aesthetic standpoint, but everything else is great, it followed the prompt well, the lighting is solid, and everything looks realistic. Honestly, it's exactly what I was hoping for. GPT did a pretty good job too, though the color is a bit pinkish. You know how people always talk about cameras, like Canon has its own tint, like yellowish, Lumix, pinkish, or whatever brands adds its own signature tint. Looks like ChatGPT does the same thing because it added a pink hue in the previous model too. I'm not sure why that happens, but that happens. Everything looks fine for the most part, but one thing's bugging me, that little dropper bottle. The glass tube just kind of ends right in the middle, and I don't think it's supposed to look like that. That's actually the downside of AI generation. When everything seems fine and it looks like a real photo, but then you spot a detail that makes you stop and think, wait, is it actually supposed to look like that? Overall, I wouldn't go with this specific image. I definitely regenerate a few more times just to make sure everything looks 100% right. Flux got everything right. The only thing I don't really like here, I don't get why all the items are slightly different colors. It's a bit strange, but honestly there aren't any technical glitches here, so that's okay. But Seedream really messed this one up. The cream doesn't even look like cream, the texture is all wrong, and that foam bottle, I have no idea what even happened there. Then this green leaves, I mean technically it's there, but the whole thing just looks super weird. In this case, I'd say NanoBanana is the winner, and Seedream definitely did the worst job. Alright, let's move on to something way more interesting in my opinion. We're gonna take a photo, shot on a smartphone, really poor quality, and use a prompt for it. I'm not gonna read the whole prompt out loud because it's super long. You can find it via the link. This technique actually looks very impressive. It grabs people's attention on social media. You've probably seen folks claiming, hey, we just took a phone pic, added a prompt, and now we've got professional ad photos. Well, let's see what kind of results we actually get. NanoBanana gave me an almost perfect result. First off, it followed the prompt exactly, it's pretty much what I was looking for. Probably the only issue is that the small text is still a bit distorted, but the large text looks really decent, especially compared to what we were getting even 6-9 months ago. Plus, the shape of the object is actually pretty close to the real thing. GPT didn't really handle it well, which is a bummer because I actually love the style of the image, but the object is totally squashed. I ran into this same issue with the previous version too. Back then I managed to fix it by changing the aspect ratio, but this time I tried a bunch of different ratios and none of them worked. It's pretty clear that's not the same object from the photo. Flux surprised me again, but this time it was a mix of both good and bad. On one hand, it's probably the best version in terms of the shape and the text, maybe even better than NanoBanana. But there are a few issues. First off, the background looks really weird and not realistic at all. Plus, for some reason, it decided to give us an ad photo with a super dirty object. There wasn't even that much dirt on the original phone pic. I have no idea why it chose to add all that. But on the flip side, all the details are there. It even kept that little plastic, I'm not sure how to call it, plastic molding mark, I think. That's pretty impressive. Seedream was the worst here, and I noticed some specific things that seem typical for it. First off, it constantly puts the light source right into the frame. I've noticed that if you ask for light from the left or top lighting, it tries to squeeze the actual lamp into the shot for some reason. Others do it too sometimes, but Seedream does it way more often. And there's another habit typical for Seedream. When you try to use an object from an existing photo, it always blurs it out for some reason. The object looks like it's out of focus, and it's unusable, at least for me, even though the overall shape and text actually turned out okay. And I'll quickly show you a very similar situation, just with a different object. NanoBanana did everything great, almost perfect, but of course it still can't handle the small text. GPT again is the worst at keeping the shape, it's completely off. And all those reels that get hundreds of thousands of views claiming you can just take a phone pic and get a professional ad, that's a total lie. It's not an ad photo, it's just an image of product that looks vaguely like the real one. Obviously no real client will ever going to pay money for that. Flux did okay, but naturally we have problems with text, and it keeps adding dust to the objects, I don't know why. As for Seedream, it's the same old story, the object is just out of focus, making it completely unusable. But maybe it makes sense to try an object that was shot a bit better. I mean, something with high resolution and slightly better lighting. Let's try the same thing now with this little jar of cream, and by the way, here's a small life hack. I cut it out in Photoshop and placed it exactly where I want it to be in the frame. That often helps in getting the right angle. It's easier than trying to explain it to AI. Use the object from the uploaded image, incorporate it into a colorful background with flowing paint splashes in shades of orange and blue. Product should be floating, the splashes should break behind the product and flow around it. Use high key lighting for a bright, energetic atmosphere. The shape of the product, its label, its position, and the inscriptions on it must remain unchanged. Here's the results of Nano Banana. The product shape is practically perfect. And thanks to the fact that the text here is only large and medium sized, even the label almost ideal. Not only the shape, but the positioning of the object is exactly the same as it was in the original photo. If I overlay the original photo and this result in Photoshop layers, they align almost pixel perfectly, so it's a very good result. ChatGPT failed again, the product still comes out modified despite the direct instructions. In the prompt, the position, the text, the shape, everything changes. A little bit, but changes. Honestly, for me, this result is completely unacceptable. Flux also shifted the position a bit. On top of that, it decided to completely redo the lighting, making it really harsh, and our original photo was shot with very diffused light. Hard shadow is created actually matches the highlights, which is fine, but there's a problem. The AI doesn't know what material this jar is made of. In real life, with lighting that harsh, it would look completely different. Now, Seedream actually got the shape and position almost perfectly, just like Nano Banana, but I like the overall result a bit less. First of all, it started adding some water that wasn't even in the prompt, and I ran several generations, but for some reason the water is there every single time. The second thing is that these weird dark spots keep appearing between the small letters. This actually happens quite often. I'll show a close-up example later of what I mean. Overall, it's still good, but in this case, Nano Banana is still the winner. Here's another object shot with the exact same lighting and in high resolution. However, this one has a lot more small text, so I wanted to see how much worse things would get. And yeah, they definitely got worse. Here's the result from Nano Banana. I think this one turned out the best in terms of the bottle's shape. I can still see some mess-ups in the small text and the logo, but overall the lighting and shadows look pretty logical. Even the water is flowing right where it should, straight from the tap. I didn't actually ask for the water to be turned on, but fine, let it flow. Overall, I'd say the result is actually good. GPT failed again. You can see with the naked eye that the text and the logo are changing. Where it says "My Beauty Week", these weird spots appeared and the shape is slightly off. To be honest, this kind of task isn't a great fit for GPT. Even though the overall style of the image and the background look really nice. It just does a poor job when you try to take a real object from a photo. Flux generated an image that I'm not really a fan of. First of all, in my opinion, it doesn't look like a sink. It looks more like some kind of plastic basin. But okay, whatever. What I don't get is why the product is sitting inside this basin. Flux completely missed the scale of the product. I get that it didn't have much to go on here, because no reference, scale reference, but the product turned out way too big. And here's the result from Seedream. This shows exactly what I was talking about in the previous example. You can see it better here. These dark spots appear inside the letters, even the large ones, and they completely ruin the look of the product. The second thing is a bit weird. There's a towel balanced on the thin edge of the sink, and the bottle is standing right on top of it. In real life, nobody would ever do that, and it's unlikely it would even stay balanced like that. But again, like with all the participants in this round, I actually like the background, the colors, and the lighting from an aesthetic standpoint. Overall, I ran a ton of tests with different products, some shot well, some shot poorly, and Nano Banana came out on top almost every single time. There are exceptions, of course, but in most cases. GPT is probably the worst for this specific task. because the objects always get distorted. As for Flux and Seedream, it's a 50-50. You can try them and sometimes it works out, but other times not so much. By the way, you can use NanoBanana, Seedream, GPT, Flux, and a lot of different models in one place. It's Higgsfield.ai, not only image generation, but video generation as well. Besides that, there are a lot of different specific, but very useful tools like LipSync, video and image upscalers, fashion factory, product placement, everything you need to create great visuals with AI. It's very convenient because all the models in one place. I will leave the link in the description. Here's another way to use AI touching up an existing photo. Sometimes it's actually super helpful. For example, we have this photo of real charcoal. I wanted to make it look like it's burning, to make it glowing red. Doing that during the shoot is pretty tough, and while a professional retoucher could definitely do it in Photoshop, it would be quite a challenge for me. But with AI it's actually really easy to pull off. So I uploaded the photo and the prompt was make the charcoal burning. And this is what NanoBanana gave me, a really cool result I think. The only downside is that the AI didn't realize the reflection in the bottle is also charcoal, so it should have turned red too. But I think that can be fixed by just running a few more generations. Other than that, it's just perfect. If you overlay the layers in Photoshop, it's practically a pixel for pixel match. Very cool. GPT, as usual, made a very cool image. I really like it. And as you can see, it actually understood that the reflection should also turn red. But at the same time, even with such a super simple object, it still changed slightly. If I overlay them in Photoshop, they don't match anymore. I guess you could use it like this, but if it's important to you that the object remains completely original, that's not the case here. Flux just produced some nonsense, I don't even want to comment on it. And as for Seedream, I should note that it kept the consistency very well, the object's shape didn't change within its boundaries. However, as you can see, for some reason, this model decided to make the bottle transparent, which is a bit strange. So here, stylistically, I prefer GPT again, but in practice, I would use NanoBanana. And the last thing that I want to show you today regarding product photography is a real-life situation. I was working on a real paid gig. I had to create a composite image in several passes. By the way, I have a tutorial on this topic. I'll leave a link in the description. Anyway, at one of the stages, I needed to add a highlight on the left side of the glass. I did it last time using the first version of NanoBanana, and now I decided to test how the newer models would handle it. Prompt: add a narrow vertical strip box highlight on the left edge of the shot glass. Do not modify anything else in the image. The glass lighting and composition must remain unchanged. NanoBanana handled it perfectly, did exactly what I asked for, and the glass remained unchanged. GPT also understood what I wanted, it added the highlight, but as you can see, and I generated several options, and even between those GPT versions, there is a significant difference in the shape of the glass. For me, again, that's just not acceptable, not usable. And Flux and Seedream, for some reason, had absolutely no idea what I wanted. They either added some very weird effects or didn't change anything at all. Seedream initially gave me this very strange image. I don't even know what that thing on the left is, but it's definitely not a softbox. On the third try I managed to get a very thin highlight, but it also added a light source in the frame that I didn't ask for. And if you look closely, the glass still changed its shape. It looks a bit squashed. So for a specific task like this, NanoBanana is basically my only option, at least today. Now let's find out how much fingers AI will generate for me. Close-up shot of female hands holding a cup of hot coffee, shallow depth of field with soft background blur, warm cozy atmosphere, natural skin tones, realistic lighting. Focus on the hands and the cup with gentle bokeh in the background. With NanoBanana everything seems to have turned out well. Take a look for yourself, maybe I'm missing something, but to me it looks good. GPT also did a good job, and to be honest, I like this image even a bit more. When I was writing the prompt, I had something exactly like this in my mind. GPT really captured my vision of how I wanted it to look. And the fingers seems to be perfectly fine here too. And Flux messed up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An extra finger snuck into the image. To be honest, I thought we were past this stage and that AIs didn't do that anymore, but as you can see, you always have to keep your eyes peeled and watch out for these details in your generations so you don't embarrass yourself in front of a client by generating extra fingers and things like that. And Seedream did a great job, everything looks good. As far as I can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers, just as it should be. You can see that Seedream cheated a little here and hid one hand behind the cup. Well, okay. In this case, I won't pick a winner, but I'll definitely point out the loser, and that's obviously Flux. Next. Bust portrait of a white woman around 30 years old, looking directly into the camera. She's facing the camera straight on with her shoulders parallel to the camera, blonde hair, shoulder length, wearing a soft gray sweater, natural appearance with minimal makeup, soft diffused light coming from the left side. She's in a living room, in the background bookshelves with books and decorative elements, the background is blurred, photorealistic image shot with a 100mm lens. NanoBanana's image generally matches the prompt, the only thing is that the shoulders aren't parallel to the camera. It also looks a bit weird to me how it's cropped with so much empty space at the top, and the image is a bit noisy. For some reason NanoBanana sometimes produces noisy results. Overall though, it's not bad. Here's the result from GPT, everything looks pretty good here, though for some reason the shoulders aren't parallel to the camera either. Everything else matches the prompt, the light source is on the left, although the fill light is a bit too bright, which makes the image look flat, but I'm just nitpicking here. Overall, it seems fine. Flux, the girl was supposed to look natural without any makeup. In my opinion, it doesn't really match the prompt. But other than that, it follows the instructions. Also, the shoulders here are actually almost parallel to the camera. Seedream finally got the shoulders exactly how I asked, but it messed up badly in another way, the light source is clearly not on the left side. Basically, every single model dropped the ball on some specific detail. But honestly, generating a model isn't a big of a deal now. What was much more interesting to me is, can you take a product and put it in model's hands so that it's actually usable? Obviously, doing this in high resolution, high quality, and with enough detail for print isn't possible yet, but I wanted to see if I could work at least for social media on a small screen. So I took this bottle, we shot it for a client's catalog, and uploaded that photo along with a photo of a girl, image of a girl. I chose the girl generated by NanoBanana and wrote the following prompt. Give the girl from the first photo the bottle from the second photo in one hand, in her other hand she should be holding an empty shot glass. The girl should look very happy with a bright, joyful expression. Overall, I think NanoBanana delivered a fairly good result. The girl looks truly happy, she clearly likes the product she's promoting, she's in anticipation. I think everything looks quite decent here, and the bottle, as long as you don't zoom in, looks good at this resolution. Text is kinda well, and the logo stayed intact. I believe this is generally usable for social media for small screens. And I'm not talking about the artistic value here, I mean the fact that the product looks realistic. As for GPT, I didn't have high expectations. We established a long time ago that it modifies the product, so it's not suitable for these tasks. Although at first glance it might not look too bad. The details show changes. Firstly, the product itself. Secondly, the bottle looks like it was photoshopped in, it hasn't been matched to the lighting of the image. And I tried several variations, and in the second one you can clearly see that the logo on the bottle has changed. So not very good. Flux apparently decided to make a public service announcement to show what happens to a person if they abuse this drink. I don't know how else to explain such a result. The woman, looks awful here. Besides, you can see that it didn't figure out the scale either, and there is some kind of black logo on the bottle, so it's useless. As for Seedream, you can also see what happened to the product. Maybe if you spend a very long time generating, you might get something, but I didn't get a decent result after several attempts. So Nano Banana is the winner here again. Just so you know, I'm not affiliated with them in any way, they don't pay me. I'm just praising them because objectively, that's how it stands today. It's the best model for me right now. And finally, I took another generated image. I won't show the prompt here, it's very long. It will be available via link if you're interested. But I wanted to try one thing. I asked the AI to show this exact same scene, but from a different angle from behind. And here's the result Nano Banana produced. I'll say right away, it didn't work on the first try. I did several attempts with each model. This is the best result I got from Nano Banana, and overall everything is quite decent here. The dog isn't sitting where it should be. The details don't match up perfectly, but as you'll see, it's still the best result because at least the logic is preserved, the bench is positioned correctly, and pay close attention to the bench. And here's the result from ChatGPT, and you can see that it didn't turn out as well. GPT left the bench as it should be, but for some reason the person and the dog apparently seem to have taken offense or something and decided to turn away. By the way, this isn't the worst option because at least there is space for the person's legs in the bench. This is the result from Flux, and I suggested paying attention to the position of the bench. As you can see, the AI didn't show the same scene from a different angle. It simply turned the bench with the person around. Now he's sitting and looking towards the park. Naturally, this doesn't match the request at all. Moreover, I want to point out Flux's strange tendency to make everything look dirty. We saw this in the product photos as well, and the bench here also looks very dirty. I don't know why. And here's the result from Seedream. As you can see, the person's legs are passing right through the bench. This is probably the worst result. So, summary. For me, Nano Banana is the clear winner. I often like ChatGPT's stylistically, aesthetically, but it's not suitable for working with specific photos of real objects. As for Flux and Seedream, they left me with somewhat mixed impressions. They occasionally give good result, but often they don't. It's a 50-50. That's all for now. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Soon we will be testing AI video generators.